friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to be making a dairy-free pudding using nuts and zucchini even. So another way to use up that zucchini. So what I've been doing is doing a detox, and I'm slowly kind of introducing foods back in. So I'm allowing myself to have meat and a few other things, but I'm still trying to go dairy-free and sugar-free and grain-free for a while. And the thing that's cool about this is it sort of forces me to be a little bit more creative on how to use up things like zucchini. So basically what I'm going to do is based off my vegan cheese recipe that I'll go ahead and link to in the description box below if you would like to check that out. It's the same principle as that, but with a few differences to make it more of a pudding and a really tasty sweet treat that is also sugar-free if you choose to do that, and honey-free too if you want, but honey is a really good option. So let's get busy and I'll show you what I do. Okay, so to start off with, what I have here are some pre-soaked nuts. And when I filled this jar, I filled it about halfway full of the nuts. So of course, after soaking them, they're going to absorb some of that liquid and take up more of the jar space. Now what I have in here are cashews, almonds, and pecans. Now you can use whatever nuts you want. However, I recommend if you're going to anything like making a cheese or a pudding, anything you want to have a more creamy type consistency, I recommend that at least half the amount of nuts you use be cashews, because that's what's really going to give it that nice smooth consistency that makes you really feel like you're getting something like cheese or pudding. And I tried this the other day and it turned out really good. I'm going to try something slightly different today because, you know, I'm always experimenting, but anyway, I was very happy with the way it turned out, and it's totally sugar-free the way I'm doing this. So I've got my pre-soaked nuts here, and because I'd also like to get a little bit of nut milk from that, nut zucchini milk, I'm gonna go ahead and top off my jar with some more of my own filtered rainwater, whatever healthy water source you have. It could be your well water. With it topped off like this, I'm going to go ahead and pour that into my blender, and I'll get probably about, you know, a half pint of milk out of that because of the way I'll be doing this. Typically I'll get up to two to 3 cups of nut milk, but because I'm using a lot more nuts in this, and the way I'm going to be filtering it, I'm going to be getting out a little bit less milk, but that's okay. I actually still have some nut zucchini milk in the refrigerator. Okay, and then to this, I'm going to go ahead right now and throw in some fresh stevia leaves, since I don't mind if the milk is sweet. And I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of my own homemade vanilla extract. And this time, even though I'm going to be adding cacao powder later on, I'm going to go ahead and throw in a tablespoon of my homemade chocolate extract. And this was made using the cacao nibs. And you can check out my video on the extract making. I'll go ahead and put that below. And that, because I use half glycerin, a 50% 1-to-1 solution of glycerin in making my my extracts, it also will have a natural sweetness to it that it could still be considered sugar-free because it doesn't raise your glycemic levels or affect your blood sugar levels at all. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to add to this is some zucchini. So this is the one I'm currently working on, and I add about this much. Now what this is going to do is also increase the volume of the amount of pudding that you have, and also add more nutrition and give you another way that you can help use up some of that zucchini. Now if you want, try experimenting going a higher ratio of zucchini and less nuts and see what you think. But for now I'm sticking with what I got here. Let me chop this up a little smaller and toss those in. Okay, so we're just going to process this on high until it's smooth. Now, if you want, at this point, you can go ahead and filter it out and maybe take part of it and leave it as a vanilla pudding, or add some berries or whatever to it, and then flavor the other half with chocolate, or don't do chocolate at all. Last time I waited until I was all done. This time I'm going to go ahead and add the chocolate right in there, because even when I filter it out, what I should end up with is some chocolate zucchini nut milk, and then I'll have the pudding pretty much all made. So I'm going to put in about, I want it pretty chocolatey, so I'm going to put in about a half cup of chocolate into this, or cacao powder. So this is raw cacao powder. So the great thing about this is also entirely raw, making it even more nutritious. But it is important, especially when you're talking about pecans, walnuts, almonds, that you pre-soak those nuts first to break down the phytates and then rinse them well. So let me put this back on the blender, and now's a good time to taste it for sweetness to see if you want to add anything more. And I did try doing something like this for Patrick when I was making him some creamsicles, and tried adding the honey directly to it, and it did actually blend up well. As long as your honey isn't too thick, like a real creamy type honey, it should actually blend pretty well. You'll just want to make sure you take a rubber spatula or something like that, or a silicone spatula, and scrape your sides periodically and make sure it's mixing in there really well. But you don't have to preheat your honey, which is really important. So that's why this is a good place when you're wanting to use raw honey. Something like this is a good time to use that. All right, so that's what it looks like all blended up. So the next thing I'm gonna do, and do you see the size of the zucchini over there? It's one of those, oops, I forgot about it. So look how much bigger it is between that and the other ones. So one of those ones that got missed, I weighed it 8 pounds, 9.5 ounces. That's bigger than my largest newborn child. So in fact, I don't think my youngest child even weighed that much until he was about 2 months old. He was pretty tiny. So anyway, what I have here is I have an 8-cup measuring cup. I have a stainless steel, very fine mesh strainer, and I will link to this below. I bought it in a set, so that's stainless steel. You don't have to worry about plastic. And then a piece of cheesecloth. And so I'm just going to pour it through that, and it will take, because of the consistency of this, it's going to take a while for it to drain. And what you'll need to do also is I'll add the rest of that in a bit, because I need to let this drain some. Is you'll want to pick up your edges like this of your cloth, and just to kind of speed up the process a little bit, and then just squeeze it out gently. Don't squeeze too hard, or you'll have your pulp coming out the top. At least to get it started, and then you can just kind of let it sit and then come back to it periodically and just kind of squeeze it some more. It'll get easier as it goes. I'm going to go ahead now that that's down a little bit more, and add that last little bit in there, because you want to be careful you don't pour it all in there at once and have it overflow on you. And then I can scrape the rest of that out later. And then again, wrap that up tightly and just squeeze it. Just kind of work your way down. And then the other thing I find when it's straining and it's almost done, you can also kind of get down here and squeeze the bottom of it gently, being careful not to squeeze too hard to push it out the top. And then squeeze again from the top, and that will increase the amount you're getting out the bottom. But you can also just let it sit here and strain for quite a while, and just come back and check it periodically and just kind of squish it around a little bit, and that will help quite a bit. So I'm going to let this sit and strain some more, and I'll keep working on it. And when it's the consistency I want it, I'll go ahead and come back and then show you what I do next. All right, so I'm back. I've got this the consistency that I wanted. So again, what I like to do is take the bottom of it after I've got it all bunched up and kind of knead it a little bit, and then you can work out as much liquid as you want. It just depends on how firm you want your pudding to be. If I'm going to make a cheese out of it, then I'm going to strain a lot more out of it. However, to make a firmer cheese, I don't recommend putting the zucchini in it at all. Just stick with the nuts. So you can check out my vegan cheese recipe. But once you add some of the other ingredients to that, it will also help absorb some of the extra moisture. And then I take my silicone spatula, and I'm going to scrape as much of this off the sides of the fabric. And they really need the fabric. You can't do this just in the strainer itself. It's just not fine enough. So you don't have to have cheesecloth though. You can use any piece of clean cotton fabric, or even a pillowcase, a clean pillowcase. Maybe an old pillowcase that you don't use anymore if you don't mind it getting stained, because this, especially with the cacao in there, is going to stain this now. And then just very carefully take this out and put it in whatever container it is you plan on keeping it in. And then you'll want to again grab that spatula and scrape as much of it off into the container as you can. Okay, so there is your vegan chocolate pudding And I did taste this, and though it tastes really good, I liked it better without the almonds in it. I find that the almonds make it more grainy. They don't grind up quite as fine as your pecans and your cashews do. So I recommend not using the almonds, but you can try it and see what you think. I just, the taste is still great. It just has a different texture that's not quite as smooth. Again, cashews, I would use that. I would think Brazil nuts would be a really great one, especially if you're needing that selenium, because maybe you need to boost your thyroid. One Brazil nut alone is enough to satisfy your US RDA requirements for selenium. So a couple of those a day would be really good if you have a hypothyroidism. So anyway, this is really tasty, really good. And then what I have here is some zucchini nut chocolate milk. And so I'm going to pour that into my jar right here. And just like I thought, this actually gave me a whole pint of milk. And so I can just put my lid on there. And what you'll want to do with this is it's still going to have sediments. Is before you drink it or use it in anything, just shake it up a little bit. And some people recommend using like gelatins and stuff like that. I tried using chia seed because some people recommended that in my last batch. It actually made it a little bit too thick. So it's just totally up to you. I prefer to just not thicken it with any kind of gelatin or anything, and I just like it like this. It's not that big a deal to shake it up a little bit before you drink it, and boy is it tasty. Okay, well I hope you enjoyed my video on how you can make your own dairy-free chocolate pudding using nuts and zucchini, as well as some chocolate milk, totally dairy-free. And if you end up trying this and you decide to try some other nuts such as Brazil nuts, I'd really like to know your results on that, because I personally love Brazil nuts, and I'm curious, one of these days I'm going to give it a try. I just need to remember to buy some Brazil nuts, and I'm really curious to see how the flavor turns out with that, because I have made Brazil nut milk before and really liked it. It was just a long time ago. So anyway, get creative with it and see what other types of nuts or even seeds you would like to put into this and what kind of flavor or results you get, and then share them down below so that we can learn from you too. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.